Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very special, hot and sweaty edition of the Potable Podcast. I'm your host, UF Gizmo, joined by Massive Das Chris Mengele.
Hello, everyone.
And Xbox Live CW Lanky.
Hello. That little wave from Chris was beautiful.
Hello, everybody.
So, guys, you sounded like a radio host then, sort of.
I'm trying, I'm trying some new things right now because it's so hot. I just need to persevere at this point. So, gang. It's time. It's the E3 episode. We're not going to talk about our feelings about life today. We're not going to talk about Chris's decisions with his fantasy league, and we're definitely not going to talk about what we've been playing. So we'll save that for next week, because I feel like this might be, we're on a time here. Craig wants to watch the Germany game, so just the time when we've done this. So cool. Right. So first of all, Pengy, we're going to go through our predictions. We're going to go see what points we've got. We're going to do that, and then we're going to talk about miscellaneous sort of stuff. We're not going to go through every conference because we've only got so much time. All right, So, Chris, go.
Right, so we go for the predictions. For me, Nintendo opened with a Smash character, which they did, 1 point. Devolver announced some sort of NFT, which they did, 1 point.
No point. No.
They did exactly what I thought.
No, we didn't. I'm going to rewatch this. We said specifically what an NFT was. That is not an NFT. It was a joke. That is not as bullshit.
Yeah, that's what I predicted. They did the same a few years ago with Bitcoin.
Right, I'm rewatching it. Okay, but that's a sort of point.
You don't need to worry, Dave. Just like a spoiler. Open World Splinter Cell, no. Pokemon Unite by this Thursday, no. Total War dated for October, no. Fire Emblem Remake, no. Limited Run Battletoads physical version, no. No Xbox games at all in their thing, even though they just did a partnership with Xbox. Weird. Breath of the Wild 2 to launch alongside new Switch. That technically could still happen, but it's not this year, so no. New Banjo game by Playtonic, no. Square End on Remake 2, no. So I have 2 points.
I can see why you're clinging to that point now, Chris.
Craig, Kojima related thing at Xbox, no. Compulsion's next game at Xbox, no. Wolfenstein 3 at Xbox, no. Starfield announced for this year, no. Skulls and Bones will not be shown. That is correct. 1 point. Resident Evil 4 Remake announced? No. Ninja Theory's second game project, Mara, is named? No. Marcus Phoenix Collection announced? No. Psychonauts 2 for July? No. Next Assassin's Creed announced? No. 1 point for Craig.
Nice.
This is something good for me.
Predictions. Day. Forza Horizon 5 this year in the Americas? Yes. Phil Spencer from Nintendo
Whoa. I'm going to stop you there, Chris Mengele.
Yeah.
The prediction was from Dave, was that Forza Horizon will launch this year. That's a point. I then gave him the bonus point of where it was. He said Mexico. 2 points for Dave. Carry on.
Well, it doesn't matter if you want to give him a bone point or not. Phil Spencer on Nintendo Direct, no. Metroid Game on the Direct, correct. So we'll not see Beyond Good and Evil 2, correct. THQ remake of a cartoon game, no. Bayonetta 3 shown, no. Halo Infinite beta by the end of July, no. Persona game straight onto Xbox Game Pass, no. More Zelda remaster 2021. I've given him a point for this because of the Game & Watch with the collection in.
It's a formality, but I'll take it.
Okay, so and Assassin's Creed remake, no. So that's 2 for me, 1 for Craig, 4 for Dave.
So bow down to me as your god.
Nice 5 points there, Dave.
We all did terribly as well. That's what upsets me. Yeah. Chris is very devastated because Chris, as usual, has really thought about what his picks are going to be as well. Me and Craig made them up on the spot. So
yeah,
nice. So that's the predictions. I'm so far the winner. Obviously, Can I make it? The double this year and get the fantasy league? We'll see. I think right now Craig is the Man City running away with it. Chris is the Liverpool, completely bottled it already. So we'll talk about that soon when we bang you.
All of his centre backs are injured.
He ain't got a goalkeeper. He don't know what's going on.
Don't worry. Next year's my year.
Well, in another news, obviously if you've seen Twitter, we've added Simon to the crew. So there may be 4 of us for the fantasy league next year. Pengy, making your chances slightly less. We might get some more interesting picks then as well, which is quite fun. We'll see. Yeah, you'll see Simon in his new show at some point, which will be fun.
I don't know. Less picks might actually work out better.
If you use this year as a reference point, it would work out better, 100%. Because we would have blown all our loads on random shit this year.
Yeah.
Nice. So first and foremost, then, boys and girls, I'll start with Craig because he's the most handsome of the lot, and he's watching something else in the background. overall thoughts on E3, Craigo? What do you think of this year? I know this is probably the most involved with E3 you've been, I guess, because we've been doing the show. But how's it going? How have you found it?
I think it's a mixture of a lot of conferences that just didn't need to happen.
Totally agree.
Probably
100%.
2 and a bit conferences that are actually worthwhile. I think the problem is, everyone said it going into it, there's too many conferences, and that did just prove to be the point. How many times did we see the same trailers over and over again? How many conferences did we watch and think, well, what was the point of that? But the actual, the 2 good conferences, the big ones, the Nintendo and the Xbox, were both very good. Squares was decent, I thought. But yeah, unfortunately, the problem with, I think Tim Getty said it on Kind of Funny, the problem of having all these conferences is the smaller stuff just gets completely lost. Yeah. So the amount of really good indie games I thought, I saw was like, oh, this looks really cool. I can't tell you like the name of a single one of them now because there's so many, you're just overwhelmed with it. You're like, God, I've seen so many like 2D side scrollers, so many look good, but I couldn't tell you any of them now. So that is the problem with, this format. Hopefully it goes back to some normality next year and there's some control. But yeah, the big conference is very good. The other stuff, just nonsense, didn't need to happen.
Yeah, I think the Summer Game Fest doesn't help, right? So
that's one of the ones that did not need to happen.
No, because obviously it's.
I thought that was quite good.
It was okay, but it's not E3. So like it's trying to. It's like the best way I could put it is it's the Super League of E3, right? E3's the Champions League, and Keighley's show is basically the Super League. Like they basically he wants to do his own thing that isn't E3, which is great, but it's at the same time, and so it lessens the impact of the stuff. So like if Elden Ring was like the one thing, right? So if
that's a perfect example because Namco have got a thing today. If Elden Ring wasn't at Summer Game Fest, it could be at Namco's thing today, and you'd be like, "Oh, great, Elden Ring!" But we've already seen it 4 days ago.
That's the point I was going to make. Is like it spoils bits and bobs of other shows, and then there's like omissions from stuff, and you're like, "Okay, great." And they said, I don't know how many indie shows there were, like 5.
Yeah,
like 5. Like why was there not just one indie show that had like the best of all of those shows and stuff? And then, but anyway, yeah,
that entire Jeff Keighley show was literally built like there's so much of it was filler, and it was just building towards the big Elden Ring thing, which is great if you like that sort of game. But if you're us three, you're like, okay.
Yeah, and it's like we said in our chat, is like we predicted it would be the Jeff Keighley Kojima wank off with Death Stranding, and then something at the end.
That was so bizarre. That interview when he was awkwardly talking about 9/11, and he was trying to sound all profound about entertainment and what entertainment means in the world right now, and it just—I don't know if it was a lost in translation thing, but it just sounded confused and awkward and weird.
That is Kojima, unfortunately. That is people like Chris and I don't get it at all. But he's one of those. Obviously, we'll get to Chris in a second, but for me personally, I think E3, other than the conference bloat, was pretty good. I think for me, the biggest advantage it's had for me is that it's been at the same time as the Euros. So instead of watching the conferences I don't give a toss about, I've been watching football. And so like that's kind of added it to me in a weird way. I've only basically watched the Keighley show, the Ubisoft show, the Xbox show, and the Nintendo show, really. I've caught bits and bobs. So I think we watched the Square Enix.
Where are you watching it?
Yeah, I think I had that like on in the background, and I was like, okay, cool. But like, that was so short, I didn't count. I think I've watched like Kind of Funny's like reactions afterwards for stuff like the Guerrilla Collective, Devolver, stuff like what's the awful one I watched? Gearbox,
Koch Media,
yeah, and stuff like that. So it's like okay, but overall, I think the conferences that were good were very good. I think Nintendo. We'll probably talk in more detail about Nintendo and Xbox because they're really the main ones. But Nintendo and Xbox were both excellent, and basically right. I know what I'm playing this year. It's probably not a PS5, if I'm honest. And I thought Ubisoft's was a lot better than people are giving it credit for. I thought Ubisoft's, if you like Ubisoft games, they showed what you wanted to see, and it was pretty well presented, and there wasn't too much filler, there wasn't too much Just Dance, all that kind of stuff. So I thought Ubisoft did a good job. I thought Square was poor, but I think that's just because...
Yeah, I thought Square was poor as well.
It's because we're Final Fantasy fans, I think. Like, and the Final Fantasy pixel tease, and then that weird-looking Babylon's Fall game looked terrible, and...
Yeah, that was getting absolutely destroyed on Twitter when it was being shown. It was like Jeffy Grubb was ripping into it like that.
Oh yeah, and then you actually got the demo that didn't work for Final Fantasy
Yeah,
Origins.
the demo is now
it's patched
alive.
now. Yeah, I was gonna do a preview for it, but obviously it's been down all day, so I haven't had a chance to record that.
I watched Eurogamer played it. It looked better than it did in the Square Enix Presents, but it still looks. I know it's next year and it's like a technical beta or whatever they call it, but it still looked pretty rough from a graphical sense. And like this is obviously running on PS5, but it's coming to like last gen as well and stuff. It's like it looks like it could be on PS3, like how it looks like.
It's not good looking, and there's no art style. They just didn't decide. They let Nomura design like 3 really different characters for the game for some reason, and then the rest of the game is just like, oh, what can we make that's sort of Final Fantasy but also sort of Dark Souls?
Yeah,
did you think it looked Dark Souls? I was thinking it looked more Devil May Cry, but I don't know if that's just me.
It looks more quicker in what I've seen from Eurogamer play. But going back to the graphics, like they got the Neo team working on it. Neo looks really good on like a standard PS4. Yeah, and it's like, oh, what? It's like the Square part of this is what's wrong with it, and the Koei Tepco part is like fine.
Yeah, I think it's one of those. We'll see if in a year it looks better, but really bizarre, and really bizarre for them to put like a demo out now. I know they do that on Switch with the Switch games and stuff, but it's strange for me to put a PS5 demo out. But anyway, so let's see. We'll go for Chris. Chris, what did you think of your of overall of E3?
Yeah, I've watched basically every conference, and I think the two.
Oh yeah, what was your time, Chris? That's
I worked out, including Nintendo, which I hadn't watched at the time, but Nintendo's 40 minutes. I got to, I think it was 14 and a half hours worth of conferences. I guess Guerrilla and Wholesome Games, because I just skimmed them, so about half an hour down for them. So yeah, 14 and a half hours of conferences. I think the two, obviously Xbox and Nintendo, huge standouts and stuff like that. Again, it might be, do they look better because all the rest look so bad? And that's the thing, like the top two good, but the rest, like if you were to do like an average or something of this E3, I think the others bring it down so bad. Like Koch Media,
like the
for instance.
SPL. South African Rangers great. Everyone else awful.
Yeah, like take Koch Media, for instance. I got a press email from them, and I know others like had proper hands-on like previews. I got an email from them going, "This is the 12 games Prime Matter are doing, or Prime Factor, or wherever you go." I was like, okay, some of them look interesting. I'll watch their conference, see what trailers there. And then their conference was 2 hours long with 13 minutes of gameplay. The game they showed looked good, but then it didn't look good because it was the only thing they showed.
As a Metal Gear fan, surely that should be like your favourite conference ever.
Yeah. Very funny. Yeah, thankfully I had
nailed him there, Craig. Nailed him.
Thankfully I had the football on the TV and that just on like the Switch, using the YouTube app on the Switch. So it's like, oh, okay, don't matter too much. The indies were really good as well. I think they were pretty good, but like you said, there was quite a few of them because you had Guerrilla Part 2, you had Wholesome Games, Tribeca Film Festival held a game thing as well. You had the Indie Spotlight, you had the Freedom Games, stuff like that. You had a lot of these.
Devolver.
Yeah, Devolver thing there. And then like take Devolver or Freedom, like they're an indie publisher there, so they put so they've got a lot to show compared to like Guerrilla, where they've got lots of other people's stuff and that. And then like Namco tonight, I mentioned they could have showed Elden Ring. Obviously, we're doing this before, but they're just showing House of Ashes. They're showing one game which we've seen 3 times already. I'm like, what's the point? Why are you here? It seems like them, Gearbox, Capcom as well, like only turned up because it's E3. Sort of thing. But then if you only had an E3 with just Xbox and just Nintendo and maybe Ubisoft and one indie showcase, people would go, well, there's not enough here. Why are you having a 4-day event? So it's one of those sort of things. But looking, you go, EA might have been right to hold their thing end of July and gone, away from all this. They can, right, here's all our stuff and that, and not get mixed up in the conversation.
Yeah, and I think if the key with that, if you've got nothing to show, don't have a conference. That's the biggest takeaway from this. Like especially stuff like Gearbox and Koch. Like,
Because Gearbox just showed Wonderland for the third time, the same trailer.
Gearbox is awful. Oh my God. Like Gearbox is the awkward Randy Pitchford stuff is. Anyway, right.
It's the same with Capcom though. They instead of like actually showing Village DLC and putting together, even if it was like a little 10-second clip, they literally were just like, "Oh yeah, you've got Village DLC in the works." And it's like, wow, okay.
Yeah, they just didn't need to do that show because they showed like 2 games that were already announced DLC for something. It was a good thing. The presentation, the actual presentation, was good.
Yeah, it was good.
But like what the content was terrible. It was like okay. Same with Square. I was like, cool. They announced 2 games, I think. Right? Am I right in thinking 2 new like console games? And it just
they announced because Origin was obviously announced here in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians was also like rumored, right? So
yeah.
Right, so we're gonna get off the negative train now, boys and girls. So what I want from all 3 of us is our 5 highlight games. Okay, and they can cross over. So I'll go first to give you a chance. So this is my victory lap on this one. So my first highlight is of course Forza Horizon 5, which I obviously predicted because I'm a genius. That game looks absolutely incredible, and yet again, Game Pass is just gonna come through for me this year and just be the beacon of hope. I think it's really cool that it's in Mexico. I think it's a saying that isn't done that often. I know there's weirdly like a weird Latin thing this year because you got Far Cry and that Contraband game is going to be in Latin America. You'd think so. Strange comeback on that. Same with the Left 4 Dead games. It's like the 2 things that everyone's doing at the minute. But I think Forza Horizon 5 already looks like it could be a Game of the Year contender for me. Just based off the previous games and the way this looks.
I totally agree with that. It does look very very good. And I watched another thing I watched them do like an in-depth sort of like interview on Forza Horizon 5, and like they've picked Mexico because it has lots of different terrain and stuff, and they can do cool stuff like the sandstorms and things like that. So it looked
it's very different to England, which they just did. So which is obviously very wet and windy or whatever. What did you think of Forza, Krieger?
Well, it looked amazing. I think the fact that it's coming this year as well is probably the big stand-up crazy thing. We all knew it was coming. But the fact that we'll be playing it as soon as November is just crazy and awesome. I thought they didn't really say much of it on the main video. I don't know if they said about it on the one that Chris watched about the kind of the single player part of it. Was it the expeditions they were calling it?
Yeah,
I think that looked quite cool and could be quite interesting. Yeah, I mean, it looks beautiful, doesn't it? Some of the technical stuff they were sharing about them doing the 12 skybox and all of that sort of thing, crazy.
Yeah, and obviously there's a Xbox like extended showcase tomorrow, so we'll probably see some more information tomorrow. Which is cool.
It's Paris is hosting, and
it's mainly Thursdays. It's mainly interviews from what I've got. Because I watched Paris do like a react thing for the Halo multiplayer, and he was talking about like, I'm going to actually talk to this guy on Thursday. Going to like sit down, have an interview with him. So I think it's going to be mainly interviews on Thursday, but it does get some interesting tidbits from it, I guess.
100%. So, Craigo, what's your first highlight?
It's Forza Horizon. I think that's going to be one of all 3 of us, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's likely to win.
I feel like all of us are going to be very similar here. Or
I think you're forgetting that we've got Chris Bengelli with us. So
yeah, that's true.
Yes.
So Chris, which Japanese game did you like the look of the most?
Right. I did like obviously Forza Horizon. It looks great. Obviously it's on Game Pass. Being on Game Pass, obviously don't need to buy it. It's just part of my subscription. But most people get that Ultimate Pass sort of thing. So you play it a couple of days early. You get the expansions. Be interesting what the like novelty expansion is this time, because obviously Lego in 4 and Hot Wheels in 3. What they do as the like
Halo Mega Bloks. That's what's going to be.
Yeah, that could be a thing. So I'm going to go for an indie game first. Spice it up a bit. This was actually the PC gaming show, but it's coming to various platforms. That's I believe it's Grounded Tides. It's a sequel to Far Lone Sails, which game I really liked. That game was set in like a desert, and you had a train basically, which had a sail on it. Funny enough, and obviously it was just like a bit of like an inside sort of game and stuff like that. that sort of like platformer and stuff like that. And this is it's like a sequel, but this time it's on a boat instead of a train.
Nice. Everyone loves boats.
I don't like boats, but
Chris
this
together.
There we go. I knew someone.
But this just it does look very good. And that's like the only thing I saw from like the PC gaming show that looked any interesting. And this is it's coming to everything, but that's where it was shown, and it looks pretty good.
Nice. So for me, I'm gonna go for a recent announcement, and that is Mario Party Superstar, which is what Mario Top 100 should have been. Mario Party Top 100. It's literally that game, but with actual boards, and I'm so excited. So there's a number of Nintendo remakes and remasters I could talk about, and I probably will, from the presentation we just watched. But Mario Party is like every single one of those games is the most played game on the console that it's for us in this house. So the fact that we're getting a like greatest hits of all the boards and the mini games, and it's basically running in the Super Mario Party engine, and it's online, all that kind of stuff is one of the many hits that Nintendo are going to take to my wallet at the end of the year. So I'm very excited for that. Completely. Craigo, number 2.
Actually, I missed the start of this, and this would be the Guardians of the Galaxy from Square Enix. I think I came in after a couple of minutes because I walked in and I was like, oh, this is just some Marvel Avengers like DLC nonsense. And then obviously it carried on. I was like, oh, this is actually its own game. And it looks really, really fun and really, really good. It almost looks like it's kind of like a shooter. But it seemed to have like some DMC like stuff going on, like score tallies and that sort of thing, which looked really cool. The whole choice system sounded really fun and interesting. The characters, it's the whole. I know their whole thing is they can't have like lookalikes, so it's like they copy your homework but make it look different, sort of thing. But the characters did look good and unique in their own way as well. So yeah, definitely Guardians of the Galaxy from the Square Enix show.
Yeah, and obviously the characters are more based off the comic books, which makes sense because they look quite similar to the versions that are in the Ultimate Alliance game on Switch and the Telltale game, especially Gamora. Like that model looks very similar. I was also very pleasantly surprised by this because I have played Avengers and it's fine. We've talked about it on this show. It's a pretty fun game, but it's very monotonous and it wears its live service thing as a badge of honor, and that kind of drags the game down for me. So for the fact that this is a single player, you just play as Star-Lord. It looks quite funny, which is always it's a weird thing to say, but it's always a big bonus for me. I always find humor helps games like that, and it's on everything as well, which is exciting. It's not just a PlayStation game; it's on Xbox, and it's coming as a cloud version to Switch as well. So,
cloud version to Switch. Yeah.
So I'd agree. I think I wasn't expecting. Oh, that's a nice little moped by Craig. I wasn't expecting that game to do anything at all, but no, I think you're right. I think it's quite interesting.
They showed loads of it as well.
They did.
That's partly why I thought the Square Enix show was so good, mainly because like a lot of it was just them showing this.
I'm just not going to forgive them for the pixel Final Fantasy thing. That built me up to knock me down, Craig, and it hurt.
They're doing you a favour there. You wouldn't play them.
You're probably right. Pengy, game number 2.
Right, my next one I'm going to say Shin Megami Tensei 5. It was shown. We had a proper sort of gameplay for it. It's coming November, and it looks good. And the world itself looked sort of nearish though. Sort of like Atlas, if you've gone like copy your homework on that. But yeah, it looked good. So
it's like very similar to Nocturne, like very similar, not in a bad way at all. It looks like a modernized version of Nocturne, but
it's very stylish. The actual world itself looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it will be probably one of the best games on Switch this year. But it's another one of those games that I personally look at and go, I ain't ever finishing it. So it's, especially
that would be another one for the big Dave backlog. Definitely.
Yeah, it's one of those games if you compare it to the similar games for Switch this year, which are Monster Hunter Stories 2 and Pokemon, I just don't see me personally getting a game
and
like
it is coming in November at the same time as Pokemon, so
yeah, and it's like Pokemon is going to be a 25-hour fairly simple game that I'll enjoy, and I know I'll enjoy, whereas this is probably going to be a 40-hour pretty hard game because the mainline games are all very difficult compared to the Persona games. But and completely unrelated, I'm watching footage of Monster Hunter Stories 2 right now, and my god, is that a beautiful ass game. So if you got that as well as a similar sort of game, I don't know
Yeah.
And obviously, Chris has still got to finish Bravely Default 2 at some point. So, no,
Traded it in. Remember?
God, we are doing a hell of a year of the Switch. At least 1, maybe 2 year of the Switch episodes this year, and I can't wait for them. Craig is bursting to go on those episodes. It's going to be great. So for me, Game 3, for me, is also going to mainly be the Xbox and Nintendo shows because they just really showed stuff that I want. Game 3 is Metroid Dread. I cannot believe they've kept the name. So for Craig that does not know, Metroid Dread was the code name for the Fusion sequel back in 2005 or whatever, Chris, right? It was like hidden in one of the Metroid Prime games. It's by Mercury Steam. It looks to be basically a direct sequel to the 3DS Samus Returns remake that came out a couple of years ago. It looks fun. I don't think graphically it's that impressive. It's Mercury Steam's engine, which is the same engine they use for Castlevania Mirror of Fate and for Samus Returns, and it kind of looks like a slightly polished 3DS game at this point. Not going to be a problem for me because I'll be playing it handheld, but I know like blown up on the 50-inch TV, it did look a little bit rough. But we'll see. Graphics aren't everything. The gameplay looks solid, so we will see on that. I've been wanting to get into the Metroid series for literally decades. I really enjoyed Metroid Prime when we did it for the Gaming Book Club a couple of years ago with Pete, and I just haven't had a chance to get to the rest of them. They're games. I actually think if Craig had a Switch, Metroid Dread is probably one of the games from this show that he would be very interested in, based on the sort of Metroidvania games that Craig's played in the last couple of years.
How much is it?
It will be.
It'll be 50.
It'll be 50. Yeah, it'll be at least 50.
That's a hard sell for me.
Yeah, I mean it's tough, right? Because it's Nintendo. Like it's gonna be 50, but yeah, on Xbox, if it was like a 30 quid like or Game Pass, I think it's a must play. Which is again that discussion that I've already had arguments with people on Twitter about with the Game Pass. But there you go. I think its only saving grace is that people now can compare it to next gen prices. So like if I was gonna say Returnal for 70 quid or Metroid for 50, regardless of what you're into, I'm always gonna go for the cheaper game that's still quality. You know what I mean? So that might be its saving grace. But you never know. They might put it for 40. Who knows?
It's Nintendo.
It'd be 50 with a steelbook and a keyring. That's what it would be. But yeah, Chris, did you like the look of Metroid Dread?
Yeah, it looked good because I'm not a huge Metroid fan. Like you said with the book club, I didn't really get on with Prime at all. And like for me, like I played Symphony of the Night first, and then obviously I went like back and played Super Metroid when I eventually got like Super Nintendo and stuff like that. But so I've never been a fan, but it does look pretty nifty. And I didn't play Samus Returns because obviously it was on the 3DS like after the Switch come out, so it's like, poor 3DS.
Poor 3DS. Nice. Craigo, next game.
It's probably one that we didn't actually see very much of, but more the fact that it was announced because I liked the first one, and that is the Plague Tale Requiem. I thought this looked. I mean, it was just a CGI trailer in the day, but it did look pretty. It's more the fact that I just absolutely adored the first game, and the fact that this is coming day one to Game Pass is just ridiculous. I know it's next year, and next year on Game Pass, I'm sure it's gonna be absolutely like endless. But yeah, that game, the fact that that's day one Game Pass, probably going to be awesome. Can't wait for that.
Yeah, it's just another one of those games you're just like, thank you for my Game Pass subscription. I won't be spending any money again this month. You know what I mean?
Like I said, they didn't really show much of it, but just the fact that it's coming, and it's going to be like the first one. It looks like they're a bit older, so maybe like older teenagers in this one. So
yeah, and I know you guys both talked really highly of the game. A bit too stealthy for my liking, so I've avoided it, to be honest with you. And the rats are terrifying. But yeah, I think that's another like locked in. It's going to be a great game. Do you agree, Chris?
Yeah, that should be pretty good. Really, like the first one is a bit of like a steeper sort of hit. Like I don't think anyone had,
game.
Yeah, I don't think anyone had any expectations for that when it came and then it came out and it's like, oh, this is actually really good. And so obviously having a sequel is good news. And like you said, it's on Game Pass day one. It's a weird one as well. It's coming to Switch via the cloud. It's like
they've been they tested that with Control and Hitman. They're really pushing cloud a little bit more, which is good to see. This is why I'm not convinced this Switch Pro is going to be that much more powerful than this normal Switch. But we'll get to that discussion in the Switch episode we'll do at some point. So Chris, how about you?
Right, so another one for me. I'm going to say, as neither of you said it, Halo Infinite, mainly the multiplayer, because that's what we've seen the most of. Obviously, they did a 10-15 minutes multiplayer like breakdown thing and stuff like that, and it looks like Halo, but that's not a bad thing when Halo is a very good multiplayer experience. And obviously, it's free to play, so don't even need Game Pass here, and that's just free to play and showing all the customization options. So we can have like a Pod of War colored base and stuff like that, and our weapons and like the
weed,
new
baby weed. Am I right, Craigo?
and the new Warthog and stuff like that. So like 12 versus 12 for big teams, I think, was announced. So yeah, it looked very good. We didn't see much of the campaign for Halo Infinite. It was like a CGI.
I think they're terrified of showing campaign at this point, aren't they? I think that's the problem with that. I think they're trying to steer away from that as much as they could, which is kind of
it's just a CGI trailer, and it looks like they're coming as two separate things as well. How they keep like talking.
Or it'll be separate achievement lists completely.
Yeah, it'll be the same as Crackdown. Yeah, it'll be 100% the same as Crackdown.
Yeah, so looking forward to playing some multiplayer with this.
Yeah, I think Halo looked incredible. I think the multiplayer, that's going to be. I'm curious to see how they're going to review it as well for my points on Fantasy League, but because
I reckon it'd be campaign.
I reckon it's going to be two separate games. I don't think it's going to get reviewed as one game, but we'll see.
No, it won't.
IGN would do about 5 different reviews for it, don't you worry, Dave?
But yeah, you're right. The multiplayer looks incredible. Like, it looks like a return to form. I think the free-to-play model is genius. I think the Battle Pass idea that you buy one and you just keep it until it's done, as opposed to it going out of date, is genius. It means that people like me and Craig that don't spend money on microtransactions, I'll probably buy a Battle Pass. Because I go, it's free-to-play, it's what's a tenner. Like, I'll work towards the end of that, and when that's done, I'll work towards the next one. And, that to me, that doesn't sound like a bad thing. I would imagine, knowing Xbox, you'll probably get one with Game Pass. So...
yeah.
You know what I mean? Or
there'll be Game Pass discounts as well.
Yeah, like there'll be lots of stuff like that.
You get your 10% off, which you do, sort of thing. That's what I was saying, like Forza, like earlier about the Ultimate upgrade. You get your 10% off if you.
Yeah, you're basically getting the game for free as well, aren't you? That way, so it's like if you're spending 35 quid, but it's 90 quid worth of value. So.
Yeah,
and the thing with Forza, it's never going to leave Game Pass. It's not like it's a bit more of a risk with, like, say, I don't know, like Plague's Tale or something, where you're like, do I get the DLC? Because I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I think Halo could have a return to form this year. It's going to be tough because I think Battlefield looks good, but I think Battlefield's price point is going to kill it dead. To be honest, I can't see people wanting to spend 70 quid on next gen Battlefield with no campaign. I know no one plays the campaign, but it's a box selling thing, isn't it? It'll put 1 of 10 people off, won't it? You know what I mean? And then Halo's going to be around, Call of Duty's going to be around, like, still going to be Fortnite, still going to be Apex. I can't see.
And if you're on the Xbox, you can have, like, your Back for... I know they're very different, but you can have your Back for Bloods and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like multiplayer
Rainbow
as well.
Six Siege, Extraction, all that kind of stuff looks decent as well. Yeah. So we'll see. But yeah. So it's my game number 4 now, right?
Yeah.
Psychonauts 2. It's got a date. Looks beautiful. Can't wait. What more can I say? I'm so excited for that game. That game's like.
I'm really glad they didn't show much of that game.
They just showed enough. They just showed like little clips of each little world, and you were like, "Oh, this looks fucking good, doesn't it?" Like, it looks very pretty. Again, it's a Game Pass game because it's on Xbox. Why wouldn't it be? That it's just It's one of those things where you look at that game compared to even something like Ratchet and Clank, and I know Ratchet and Clank is arguably the better, bigger game, but when you look at that price point. You know what I mean? You look at £70 for Ratchet and Clank, which is probably let's say it's a 9 out of 10 game, right? Which is I think a fair based on its thing. And then Psychonauts is probably going to be a like 8.5 out of 10 game, but it's not costing you £70. It's crazy to me. Like it's. I know we go on about a lot about how good Game Pass is, but it is mental to me that we're getting games like Forza and Psychonauts as just part of a subscription that's like cheap. Like it's going to be such a high quality game. Like Double Fine make weird games, they don't really make bad games. So I'm looking forward to Psychonauts 2 a lot. obviously I know Craig is. Are you looking forward to it, Pengy?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It looks good, and it's one of those sort of things Xbox sort of like lacking a 3D platformer, and that so, and there isn't that many this like year either. Even if from Nintendo Direct, I don't think they didn't have a 3D platformer, and that's Nintendo, so you can really feel that sort of gap this year.
Yeah, you think we've had Ratchet, and we had the couple PlayStation ones that launched last year, but far as I can remember, I don't see anything like that this year. So nice. Craigo, your fourth game.
I'll go for Sony. I did actually see this in the Ubisoft showcase. I saw it mainly in the Xbox one, and it was a game that I think it's kind of over delivered on its showing. It's Far Cry 6. It's 6 now.
Yes.
Yeah, Far Cry 6. I think this is one of those that everyone building up to this has just been like, oh, it's another Far Cry. It's Ubisoft. Your climb towers and it's open world and all that nonsense. But I actually think the showings that this game's had have all looked really, really good. The focus of actually showing a lot of story stuff is quite exciting because like the last Far Cry had some really good story stuff, but you had like 10 minutes of it at the start, 10 minutes at the end that was amazing, and then nothing in between. So it sounds like we're going to get more actual kind of characters and building up a story, which is exciting. And the gameplay looks phenomenal. It looks so much fun. The guns look ridiculous. The fact that at the end of the trailer that he's driving a car and he pulls a parachute and the car starts flying away, that's just silly fun, isn't it? So yeah, I'm really excited to see what they do with this game. I think it's going to be a lot better than people think it's going to be. I think this is going to be, I think Dave picked this on Fantasy Critic. I think it's going to do him very well.
Yeah, and I think that the season pass looks really interesting. I don't know if you.
Yeah, I didn't see that because I didn't watch the Ubisoft one, but the Xbox.
It's basically they're doing you play as each of the villains from 3, 4, and 5 in like their own little campaigns, and it's kind of like psychedelic, and it's got like their own worlds and stuff, and it looks really cool. And then I think they're giving you Blood Dragon as well, because I know they like to do like a weird they like to do weird HD remasters with all the season passes, don't they? So you get Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, which is great. So yeah, like the overall package already for that game looks good value. Especially if you're on one of the services that's got Ubisoft Plus or on PC or the cloud ones, like it's to get that for like a Game Pass type of price is crazy. But I think you're right. I think Far Cry 6 is going to surprise some people this year. It's coming out at the end of the year, which puts it in jeopardy of getting lost a little bit, I think. But again, we know what to expect.
Because when is it? Is it November?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, it's like if you've got Forza if it's like let's say it's the same week as Forza, you got that, you got Pokemon, you've got Horizon, let's say not Zero doing Forbidden West, let's say in November. Yeah, you could get mixed if you got like three big games, which is possible.
I think its only hope is that the general masses that don't play Pokemon, that don't play Horizon. I think Horizon will struggle the most out of those because I think that's going to be the PlayStation game. But other than that, I think all the other platforms are going to go for like.
That's if that comes out as well.
Yes, if it comes this year as well. Which
it's a big if.
I think it will try and avoid Zelda, so I think it will come this year. Like hell or high water, it will come in maybe December if it's not quite ready, just to avoid Zelda again, like because that killed it last time. Nice, Pengy, number 4.
Before I go for a weird one, and that's the Zelda Game & Watch, which I thought was very cool. The Mario Game & Watch.
Such a crisp pick, isn't it? That is.
The Zelda Game & Watch, and not Zelda, the Mario one was a bit like I've not even bought it, and I like everything.
It's actually still available because they killed it 3 months ago because Nintendo's weird, and you can get it on Argos for like 35 quid.
Yeah, I don't know, but this one looked really cool because it has Zelda 2 and Link's Awakening on it, the Game Boy one. It's got that on it. It's got like a new Game & Watch like Zelda game on it and stuff like that. It's got quite a few sort of things. I guess the disappointing is they obviously said in Direct this is like the only anniversary thing we're getting, and obviously Game Skyward sort of HD, so that's a little bit disappointing, but I thought it was very neat, so I'm excited for that.
I thought this looks like the tattiest tat I have ever seen in my life.
I
did not get this at all.
This
is the sort of thing you buy and never touch, isn't it?
It's 100% Nintendo knows their audience. Like they know there's people like Chris that will buy it and it will never get opened. So I get it, but I don't see anyone playing those games on
I mean, it's almost abuse at this stage, isn't it? They're almost abusing Cool Chris there.
Yeah, it's like someone call for help, especially because I mean they keep announcing amiibo for like every game they put out, which is just like Chris. I like the Zelda one is sort of 30 quid, so that's on top of the 60 quid game and the 70 quid Joy Cons. You know what I mean? It's like for a game that most people don't even like. You know what I mean? Like, or Nintendo. But I get it from a collector standpoint. You will not ever play games on it. You'll never finish one of those games on it, Chris. Don't even know what you're trying to pretend you will.
No, because I have Link's Awakening on Game Boy. I have Link's Awakening Deluxe on Game Boy, and I have obviously Link's Awakening Remaster on Switch. And I swear I got Link's Awakening on. I was on the GameCube Collector's Disc.
Have you finished any of those editions, Chris?
I have finished the HD remaster on Switch.
Okay. There you go. Chris has finished one game. Nice. Yeah. Okay. So for my last game, it's actually really difficult, so I'm going to go through some quick honorable mentions. Very excited for the Advance War remakes. Those games are fantastic, and I've been looking for a reason to play them because they've only been available on Wii U, basically. Really cool strategy RPGs. Looking forward to that. Obviously, WarioWare. My girlfriend and I are very excited about that because they are stupid ass party games, and when Craig comes up to visit, that is going to be a game that I get him onto at all because it is stupid fun. I love the WarioWare games. But for me, this is probably a bit of a left field one for the type of games that you know for me. But I was really impressed by Rainbow Siege Extraction or Rainbow Six Extraction. Very impressed, actually. Like, so it's weird because it's this weird thing that happens with films and music and games where everyone has the same idea around the same time, and then 3 years later it all just looks like they're copying each other. But it takes a long time to make these games. So everyone's making like Left 4 Dead-esque games. But what I really like about Rainbow Six is it's going the sort of strategic stealth route where you have to really be careful not to alert the let's just say zombies. I know they're not the infected. Otherwise it gets a lot harder. Each of the characters or the operators play differently, have different strengths, and it uses that Rainbow Six gunplay mechanic that's amazing. Like, sure, the game is rock hard and I'll never be good at it, but like the fact that it's using those mechanics in a kind of PvE game with friends looks really fun. Like, it's for me, it's like, do I want to spend the money on it? It's probably the biggest problem. I probably need Craig or Pete to buy it, to be honest with you, before I can really jump in. But it's one of those games that I was very impressed by because I said I'm not a big Siege guy. I played it when it came out for like 20-30 hours, which I know is training basically. But it's I was really impressed because I just know that game is going to play nice. So the fact that it actually looks quite interesting as well is really a bonus for me.
I think the exciting thing about that is the fact that it's got the operators from Siege in it.
Yeah, it's got 18 of them.
It almost seems like this is the Rainbow Six Siege's campaign, which is quite cool. It's, you look at Overwatch 2, where they've a whole new game, and it looks just exactly the same. It's kind of cool that they're actually just doing kind of like its own campaign for Siege. I think, like you said, that the problem this game's going to have is there's so many of these sorts of games on Game Pass.
Yeah.
It's going to be such a hard sell justifying buying that when you could play, there's probably 5 announced that are going to come to Game Pass in the next 18 months. Like,
yeah.
That's the difficulties it has.
Yeah, because it's RRP, like, digitally on Xbox is $59.99, and obviously you get it cheaper on Amazon or whatnot and stuff like that. But like you said, if you're an Xbox player, you've got if you sub to Game Pass, you've got the option. Soon you've got Dark Alliance, where gameplay is very different because it's third person, and like hack and slash, but it's the same sort of concept. You've got Dark Tide, you got Back 4 Blood, you got that one that was then announced at Summer Game Fest, and like 60s, 70s like style sci-fi one with aliens.
It was called.
No one can pronounce that one. Yeah.
And then obviously you got that Redfall next year.
Redfall next year. I feel there's one other as well, and that's. Let's say there is one other. That's 6. Obviously, Redfall was, Evil Dead. Yeah. Obviously, what do you call it? Redfall was summer 2022. So by then, most of these would have been out. So that'd be good for that. But if you're on Xbox, like, all right, I have these 4 or 5 to choose from. I know it's going to. This is the thing. It's going to play very different, like you say, Dave, because it's slower, stealthier, and where like Back 4 Blood looks like you just go, mad with your, shooting stuff. It's an Alien one. It's not on Game Pass. Well, it might come to Game Pass, but there's the Alien one as well. That's its problem, I guess. Like on PlayStation, obviously you got to buy like all these. That's where it might, do well. Or like you said with the what do you call it? Uplay Plus if you're on PC, or
on Stadia
or Luna and stuff like that, where it could go like, because PC players like weird, like some like I don't buy a game on Epic Store, I only buy it on Steam. I'm like, it's still on PC. It's strange.
It is crossplay, which is very interesting to say. So that might be its saving grace. And if I'm honest with you, there is not a publisher that put their games on sale more than Ubisoft. So it's one of those that I think it could by Christmas. I think you could probably get it digitally for 30, maybe 35. Yeah. So at that price, for me personally, that's I might jump in and give it a go at that price. But yeah, I was very impressed. I wasn't expecting anything out of that game at all. So to see it show as well and have as many interesting mechanics as it did have, as well as looking very polished as well. I know Siege has been out for years, but yeah, I was very impressed.
If they can translate over like the main abilities of the operator as well, that would be so cool. Like you think of like Sledge's ability where he has his sledgehammers to like break down like walls and stuff like that.
In the trailer, they had that.
Yeah.
In the gameplay, they
if
showed
that translates well, then.
And if you think if there's any crossover, so if you're, for example, you're a lapped Siege player, and you get some operator bonus or something, or a specific operator by owning Extraction, and have that kind of crossover, like even something as little as that might get you tempted. You know, I'm not a big Siege player. Like I like the game when I've played it, but it's just too hardcore now. You need like a group of 5 people that want to play 2 hours every week, and I just haven't got the time in my life for that anymore.
2 hours every day, Davey.
Yeah, I know. Like it's like if I like translated my Football Manager time from this year and then split it over the weeks to play this, then I might stand a chance. But it's like, realistically, is that going to happen? I don't think so. But there you go. Craigo, what is your 5th and final game?
I'll pick, just partly because it was just mentioned then, Redfall, and mainly because this was such a big surprise. I thought when they said they were doing their big announcement for the end, I was really confused as to what it will be. I didn't know if it was just gonna be like more of something that we've already seen, or like something third party or something like that. But the fact that it was a first party game that's coming next year, that we'd never heard of, I thought was quite cool and quite exciting. And the actual trailer itself, I know we didn't see any gameplay at all, so we don't really have any idea like what we're getting ourselves into here. But the trailer and the art style, it had that arcane kind of vibe to it, which they're known for, and it looks, it looked really, really cool. The idea of it, the fact that it is that, we've said it, there's a lot of these sort of games coming, these Left 4 Dead style games, but the fact that it's open world and co-op, it kind of might actually stand out and be different enough to everything else that it's kind of a bit refreshing. So again, we saw like nothing of it, but it was an exciting moment, I thought, for the whole showcase.
And it's vampires, Craig, so that's different.
Yeah, I mean they all just change what their main thing is, don't they?
Yeah, they all have like a big boss, which is like you've got to kill, which is great. All 3 of the trailers for all those games had the exact same like gameplay thing, where it's just a big boss rises from the bottom. I was like, wait a minute.
Weird.
Yeah, but this Redfall's interesting because obviously it's the Prey team, and I think what's the other game they made? They made another one, I can't remember. I'm sure Chris knows.
Did they do Deathly?
Yeah, they might have done Deathly Insider.
They did that. Yeah.
Again,
the like spin-off one.
It's a good studio with a good track record, so I would be surprised if it didn't play well. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think it's obviously we didn't see enough to be like bang on. It could be like a Game of the Year contender, but again, for Game Pass, it looks better than like Grounded did when it first came out. It looks better than Bleeding Edge and stuff like that. So the fact that we're going to get that on Game Pass in the summer next year, it can probably, I don't know what it's going to be competing with, but like it's probably the game that I know for a fact me and Craig will try it. I know we'll be able to persuade Chris to give it one go, and people like Pete and Damon and Luke and all that will want to jump on. So it's all very exciting.
They seem pretty adamant that you can play it on your own as well, which is always good.
I mean, it's you want to be able to do both. Like you want to be able to play it on your own to like level up, whatever. Then when you play with your friends, you get a benefit from doing that little bit of solo play. So I'm sure it'll be good. Pengy, lead us home.
Right. I'm going to go for a bit of a left field one. That was also Nintendo Direct, and I'm not happy it's leaving the poor Wii U, because the poor Wii U has now got even less games on it, and that is Project Zero, also known as Fatal Frame. Maiden of the Black Water is getting ported to everything. It's coming to Switch, PS5, PS4, Series X, Series S,
Really?
PC. Yep,
Strange. It's
it's
traditionally
coming.
been a Nintendo game, hasn't it? The last couple of them.
Yep, so it's coming to everything. It's a
Did they announce
survival.
that in the actual direct, or was that a Twitter thing?
It
So I
was
didn't
in
see
the
that.
Nintendo Direct.
They
Well,
announced the
obviously,
game. They didn't announce it coming to like Xbox. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
that's what I mean. I saw the game, but I didn't realize it
Yeah.
was coming to everything.
No, like literally Koei Tecmo like obviously tweeted afterwards it's coming to everything. Yeah, it's a survival horror game. I've not played it because on Wii U the physical version is super expensive. It's like a couple hundred
Yeah,
quid.
it's because it didn't come out
Like,
in America, so the Americans buy up all the European editions.
yeah, so it's very expensive, and the only other option is obviously digital on the eShop on Wii U, where it's sort of split in two bits and stuff. It's very odd. So it's good that lots of more people get to play it. That's always a good thing.
Did
And
they
obviously,
announce a price point, or
no, but I expect it
Be
to be
40,
40 quid.
50, yeah.
Yeah,
I think on Wii U it's 40.
Yeah, it's Koei Tecmo as well, not Nintendo. So yeah, I expect this to be 40 hours, 40 quid, and it's an interesting horror series which doesn't really get much love. Everyone always thought Resident Evil will start one a new Silent Hill, even like a new Dino Crisis and that. I mean, this is a long running series and a pretty decent one as well. So I'm looking forward to playing this on my Xbox.
Yeah, the best way I could describe it is if Silent Hill had sex with Pokemon Snap. Is like the best way to describe it. I think. Did you play? Because they did a trial version when they came to.
Yeah,
Wii.
I played the
Did you play it?
trial. I played the
because
trial.
I played it. I actually quite enjoyed it. It's obviously far too scary for me to commit to paying money for, but
Yeah.
it seemed very high quality. It seemed very Japanese, which is weirdly like a lot of the most recent, even though the Japanese made a lot of the most recent horror games are very Western focused in like their locations and stuff, whereas Fatal Frame never has been. So. I think it's probably a game Craig might enjoy, to be honest. It's whether its price point fits, especially with so much Game Pass. And yeah. So I think overall, I think E3. There's a lot of games. I mean, we could have named another like 15 games easily.
Yeah.
But,
especially like you said at the start, Craig, with like the indie showcases and stuff. They do sort of blur into one, but there's definitely other stuff that I liked at the indie showcases and stuff. It's like I would have to look. What was that game called? Where was it to? And stuff like that. And
you think now we've got 40 demos on the Xbox Store to try out for indie games. We've got the Final Fantasy Origins demo that's gone live. I think there might be something from the Nintendo thing. I haven't looked yet. I think there was at least one game I'm sure I saw a like demo thing.
They announced a demo of Monster Hunter Stories. I think it's the end of the month.
Yeah, that game comes out on like the 9th of July, right? So I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I'm
they did say your save carries over as well, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm watching the Treehouse Player game, and I'm actually very tempted because it looks very good. But will it be another one for the backlog, Craig? More than likely, right? So so yeah, that's E3. I think overall it's been a good week. I know we got Xbox tomorrow, so there might be some more stuff, but I doubt it. I do look forward to getting back to normality with the next podcast and just chatting about Chris's mistakes. So I look forward to that. But yeah, any closing thoughts on the shows before we let Craig get to his football? No?
I haven't really got
Thanks,
anything.
guys. Thanks for making my job as the host very easy all the time.
I am sort of excited for one more thing. Limited Run had a really good press conference and stuff. The best of Monday, which didn't say Monday was a pretty dreadful day. But the Rondo of Blood is getting an official Konami approved version on the Turbo CD in English, which is very interesting.
Well, I was like, you built me up then. I was like, oh, is it finally coming to Xbox? No, it's coming to the fucking Turbo CD. What you want?
But the 30 years later, we're getting an like official
Do you
English
own
version.
a Turbo CD?
No.
Will you be buying a Turbo CD?
I do really want hasn't got a date yet, but the Analog Jam Turbo Duo, which is obviously they're doing one which has got Turbo Graphics and PC Engine and a Turbo CD, PC CD or ROM 2 and Super CD all built into
I cannot
one.
wait for all this to get moved to Simon's retro show, so you can talk to Simon about it, and me and Craig just have to hear about the money you've spent on it.
Yeah, I have no idea what you just said, Chris. You were just saying CD over and over again in my head.
Yeah, you're not missing much.
It's got no launch date. It's supposed to come 2020, and then it's delayed because of COVID, and it's just coming 2021 at some point. So,
right,
I expect it gets late as 2022. So,
Chris's randomness aside, we'll join you next week. Could well be one of the Switch episodes next week. Me and Craig have been plotting the year of the Switch episode, so they could be one next week. We'll see. But thank you for watching.
That's got to be the end of the year, surely.
Well, there'll be two.
Yeah,
I think we need a check in, and then we need the final one. You know what I mean? We're getting it halfway now, Craig.
Surely you do halfway one in like December and do Year of the Switch in March.
No.
Switch March to March.
No, it's not.
What are you talking about?
Word? It's not a financial year, Chris. This is, by the way, this is exactly what's going to happen for the game of the year.
2021 doesn't start in March.
The game of the year, by the way, for us is the 31st of December. I don't give a shit about other stuff.
Yeah, so. I agree with that. But Switch Year 4 started in March.
Okay, so let's do it to a vote. No. Put your hand up if the year started in January for the Switch.
Yeah, when Chris McGilly opens, starts here saying it's the year of the Switch in January, you can't then go, actually, no, it starts in March because I didn't actually play in the game.
Because actually, Pokemon and Zelda coming out in the first Q1 of next year. So if I include that, I actually have played some games. So no. So
right.
in the next...
go into the chat and like Switch March to March, year 4. I'm talking about year 4 of the Switch.
So wait a minute, Chris.
It's going to be
for
the
ages
year
you've been talking about this year of the Switch. You didn't go, it's the year 4 year of the Switch from March to March. No, you were like, 2021 is the year of the Switch.
Yeah.
You know these podcasts are on the internet, right? People can just go and rewatch you saying 2021 is the year of the Switch, not year 4 is the year of the Switch. At no point, Chris, at no point
Monster Hunter Rise started year of the Switch.
What are you on about? Anyway, we'll continue this arguing off camera. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, for our listeners' sanity.
And we will see you next week. Everyone take it easy.